Welcome to the Lure and Blur. I've been saying blur and lure every time I pre-announce this, of the what? The real. I'm sort of conversant in this particular subject because in high school there was a kid who I thought was really fantastic. He's actually appeared at Philoctetes since, and I wanted to be him and started to talk like him and become him and appropriate his personality. And then the smartest kid in graduate school, I also tried to be him. He was that's Rocco, very provocative person. If you try to steal a very provocative person's personality, caveat emptor. People don't buy it sometimes. In any case, before we begin today's program, I wanted to again call your attention. Ed Necessian and I are the co-directors, incidentally. I wanted to call your attention to the show on the wall. A lot of times people come into our space and don't realize that these shows are related to the roundtables. And this show, which was curated by Holly Cohn with the help of Adam Ludwig, is related both to our we showed a wonderful Joseph Cornell film that he himself made about mourning. And then the show was based upon, these are all assemblage and collage. Particularly take a look at Eric Edelman's piece over there and what he's written about it. And Fred Tomaselli is on the panel, of course, and we're very honored to be showing his works, along with those of Maureen Malarkey, Max Primo, Anne Sherwood Pundyke, and John Talbot, who's right there. And thanks, John, for all your help on this show. Philoctetes, the point about this is also that it obviously relates to today's roundtable on appropriation, because the appropriation was part of the collage endeavor. Just a couple of other announcements. On March 16th, we present a different type of event, an ancient stringed instrument reborn, the angular harp. It should be fantastically interesting. And on that panel, we have Tomoko Sugawara. I've been working on that. She's a leading performer of kugu, the Japanese version of the angular harp, which thrived between 1900 and 1700 BC. And those events are organized by Stephanie Chase of the Celestial Sphere Society. So that should be a really interesting event. And on March 25th, Oberlin dance professor Roger Copeland returns to do a presentation called Dancing in the Dark, Julie Tremor, Oedipus Rex, and the Gaze of Upright Posture. And all of our events are available if you go to philoctetes.org. We record this on a 3-camera setup, so you can see this event later in the week, and they're all on YouTube. We are very grateful. Did you want to say about the incredible gift we got from Tony?
We just got a significant contribution from
Tony Lobier.
Tony Lobier.
Yeah, and we're very grateful for that. We've recently been the recipient of grants from the New York State Council on the Arts in Poetry and Music, the Department of Cultural Affairs, but we need your help because what's happening is we're surviving on a month-to-month basis. So we're applying for grants. We're thankful to the Templeton Foundation in this regard also, but we definitely need our patrons who have been fantastically generous over the past year in supporting us and keeping us alive. And without further ado, I'm very honored to present David Shields, who's been here before. And David is the author of 10 books of fiction and nonfiction, including the New York Times bestseller, The Thing About Life Is That One Day You'll Be Dead. I love that title. And most recently, Reality Hunger, a manifesto. He's the chair of the 2007 National Book Awards nonfiction panel, and he's received a Guggenheim, numerous other awards, NEA fellowships, the Ingram Merrill Foundation Award, a Ludwig Vogelstein Foundation grant, and a New York Foundation of the Arts fellowship. His essays and stories have appeared in the New York Times Magazine, Harper's, Yale Review, The Village Voice, Salon, Slate, McSweeney's, and Believer. David will moderate this afternoon's panel and introduce our other distinguished guests. So take it away, David.
Okay. Thank you very much. Does everyone have the handout? Because I was going to introduce everyone. This is Barbara Browning. This is Paul Miller. This is John Cameron Mitchell. This is Rick Moody. And this is Fred Tomaselli. I'll be happy to give you a lengthy bio of each of them, but I hope that you all have the handout, and I thought I would perhaps spare us that part. I mean, they are all very amazing artists, but I'm happy to give people's bios, but I thought if everyone has it, I won't repeat that information. No one downstairs have it?
There are people watching downstairs who may not.
Okay. Yeah, I will. I'll do a brief thing on that, on each person. Barbara Browning teaches in the Department of Performance Studies at the Tisch School of the Arts at NYU. Her scholarly and ethnographic writing, Samba, Resistance in Motion, and Infectious Rhythm, Metaphors of Contagion and the Spread of African Culture, has experimented with personal narrative and lyrical voice, while her forthcoming novel, The Correspondence Artist, incorporates various forms of, quote, of evidence to substantiate the reality of her fictional characters. She also makes chamber choreographies on YouTube. Paul Miller, also known as DJ Spooky and also known as That Subliminal Kid, is a writer, artist, and musician who lives and works in New York City. His 2008 book, Sound Unbound, follows his award-winning 2005 Rhythm Science. Miller's work has been exhibited at museums throughout the world. He has performed in a wide variety of venues, including the Tate Modern, the Guggenheim, and the Herod Atticus Theater at the Acropolis, and recorded both on his own and with collaborators ranging from Metallica to Steve Reich. His latest CD is The Secret Song. John Cameron Mitchell directed, wrote, and starred in the film Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which came out in 2001, for which he received the Best Director and Audience Awards at the Sundance Film Festival. He was also nominated for a Golden Globe Award as Best Actor. He was executive producer of Jonathan Couette's award-winning documentary Tarnation, which is a film which I teach virtually every year in my graduate course on self-reflexive documentary and the self-reflexive essay. It's a great, great film. His improv-based film Short Bus was released in 2006. He's presently in post-production on Rabbit Hole, starring Nicole Kidman and Aaron Eckhart. He has directed music videos for such bands as Bright Eyes and Scissor Sisters. Rick Moody, in Prison Black and White over here, is the author of 4 novels, including The Ice Storm and The Diviners, 3 collections of short stories, and a memoir, The Black Veil. His work has appeared in many magazines and newspapers, including The Guardian, The New York Times, Esquire, Atlantic, Harper's, and many other publications. As a musician, his releases include Rick Moody and One Ring Zero, and 2 albums with the Wingdale Community Singers, the eponymously titled first album and its recent follow-up, Spirit Duplicator. His new novel, The Four Fingers of Death, will be published by Little Brown in July. Me, you've heard about me from others. Fred Tomaselli is a visual artist whose hybrid paintings, drawings, and collages have been shown in numerous exhibitions worldwide, including the Whitney Biennial, Berlin Biennial, Lyon Biennial, Liverpool Biennial, and the Site Santa Fe Biennial. Many biennials. Solo shows include the Irish Museum of Modern Art, the Whitney Museum of American Art at Philip Morris, the Albright Knox Gallery, Site Santa Fe. His work is in the collections of the Museum of Modern Art and the Whitney and many other places. Tomaselli is the subject of a mid-career survey that originated at the Aspen Art Museum and is currently at the Tang Museum until June 6th. A book that details the last 25 years of his work has just been published by Prestel. So that's a little bit about all these people. Where to start? I thought I would try to generate some discussion by throwing out what I hope are some provocative statements to people and let the lure and blur of the real try to overtake us. We're hoping to have something we're hoping to have a conversation rather than a sort of topic by topic debate. But I thought I'd get us started by quoting from a former student of mine, Brian Christian, who said something. He has a book coming out next year. And Brian said something that I haven't stopped thinking about. And I thought I'd simply quote it to you, and I'd love to hear what any of the panelists think. I think it very much relates to our topic. Brian said, "I'm finding it harder to just, quote, write. The seeking and sculpting of found text or sound have become my primary, quote, artistic function. Actually generating that text or music seems increasingly difficult. Lately, I'll sit down with a blank pad and feel like I really have to dig down deep to get my own voice to come out over the, quote, sample choir. It's a very strange feeling, like a conductor trying to sing over the orchestra, and is, I believe, a fairly new one for artists." So I'm just curious what people think. Do you find him wanting, and just does he simply need to find his own voice more assiduously? Is he on to something? What reactions do people have to my former student Brian's statement?
Well, I think the anxiety of influence is something that has haunted the artist or writer or creative for millennia. Nothing's new there. What's new right now is the ability to immediately find out that there's already several zillion other people thinking the same thing. You could be, in Plato's myth of the cave, or you could be in the Matrix, and you'll still have that same sense of eerie sense of unreality. But it's the creative process right now. I'm tending to find the phenomenon of overload and filtering overload as a writer and artist and musician is something that I have to navigate every day. And so that quote is resonant, but I still feel like right now, at the beginning of the 21st century, the whole economy is based on this information overload. I mean, if you really think about what's tying together the global culture and, the Google of everything, kind of scenario. Yeah, I mean, he sounds like, citizen, netizen of, current moment.
I think every young artist has to sort of get out from under the tyranny of influence, and that it can be that you can become quite paralyzed in the onslaught of these influences. And I know that my work started out with a great deal of doubt, and it was through kind of conceptual strategizing that I was able to sort of work myself out of that doubt by trying to put into my work all the sort of contexts that were around it. And that was really self-conscious. And it was through that initial impetus that I was able to, I think, find a voice. But it was only through this sort of very self-conscious sort of strategizing my way out of the tyranny of influence that I was able to find that voice. And I think it's interesting that it was a young writer who mentioned that. I think that that's kind of endemic to younger creative people trying to figure their way out, And so I think that that's what you end up doing. I think everybody has to deal with that, no matter what age you're in.
But let's in the same context, like The Economist about 2 weeks ago had a really interesting article on information overload, where essentially humanity now generates more data than it's generated literally since at the beginning of its evolution. Something like, a couple exabytes of data a year. A petabyte, gigabyte, if you keep going up in the scale exponentially. So an exabyte would be enough to describe every star in the universe, not only every star, but the relationships of all the galaxies, the explosion of all the material that's going out to the edge of the known universe, with data. You'd be able to describe the entire quantum structure of the universe with a couple exabytes. And we're sending text messages, and that's